Bucharest, Romania. It's considered one of the most exposed city of the entire European Union to earthquake risks. When I heard first about this, I started researching because I'm a bit concerned because I spent a little bit too much time now in Bucharest, and I found that in 1977 the city had one of the worst earthquakes of all of Europe. It took the life of 1,500 people, damaged almost 1 million construction and building here in Bucharest, Romania. Which brought me to the other question. What did Romania learn since 1977, and how is the country of Romania preparing should another earthquake happen? Because that's something you can't avoid, because as you'll see with these maps, I'll explain you a little bit the scientific reasons of an earthquake. But the most interesting part is how did the communist regime of the time react to such a natural catastrophe? Maybe they did something interesting that we could learn from it. And speaking of the communist regime, why a Romanian engineer who was part of the committee of investigation disappeared just to be found dead in a prison, a communist prison, 8 years later? All of these are interesting unanswered questions, but today I'll try to find one of those 400 high seismic risk buildings. Usually you could recognize them with a dot. They put a red dot on them, and I think the old town should have some of them. So follow me. You might be wondering why I'm bringing you here to one of the newest towers of Bucharest, Sky Tower and other towers. Look at them. It looks like we are in Frankfurt or New York, like all over the place. Almost every foreign corporation has its headquarters here. More than 250,000 office workers work here in Sky Towers and others. This represents the third of the office workers of Bucharest. This is a lot of people in an area that is considered a high seismic risk area. But the issue is not with these buildings themselves, even though you might argue that steel structures are not ideal because they are kind of flexible, things like that. Even though I'm not expert of this matter, I have to say, but if you want to understand the risk associated to these brand new towers that, to be honest, continue to pop up all over north of Bucharest, if you want to understand the issue with them, you gotta look at here. The ground, my friends. You gotta look at the ground to understand the issue. Up to 7,000 kilometers below the Earth's surface. That is why I brought these beautiful maps with me. Now we need to find a place with a hot drink because I want to have tea. So follow me.
How could you run me blind when I thought I was a navigator? I thought I could read the signs. You were sending up flares.
Alright, let's look at the earthquake activity in Europe. So if you see that the color is very red, that means it's not really good. There's a lot of earthquake activity. If it's kind of blue, green, that means it's fine. So the first one we already know is Iceland. We know that Iceland, there is a lot of geothermal activity there and seismic activity. So this is the island of Iceland, the island of Iceland. There is then Italy. Sometimes you hear that there are earthquakes in Italy. Here it's Slovenia, then Croatia. In 2021 there was an earthquake in Croatia that was felt up to the Slovenia parliament. And look at this, seriously. This is Albania. It's almost like black. Greece is not better. Look at Istanbul. This is Istanbul. It's like a straight black line here. So Turkey is in a high seismic activity. Of course, if you look at countries like Germany, Poland, Sweden, Finland, they don't have a lot of impact here. Paris, same. You see a little bit around south of Spain, and they assume same for North Africa. The question is, why are these red and these are not red, which means these are more impacted by the earthquake activity, and this is less. That's the question we need to answer. Now, why are the European countries not impacted evenly by this earthquake activity? If you want the answer to that, you need to look at how is Earth constituted in itself. And we'll look at this. So this that you see here is, let's say, the Earth constitution from the top, the first layer, which is on which we live, up to the core, which is 7,000 kilometers below the surface. Let's forget these two layers, the inner and the outer core. The mantle, forget about it. We are looking at the crust and actually the top of the mantle. So this, it's all over planet Earth. Now the thing is, the Earth is really big, and it's not one plate covering all of Earth, it's actually many plates. And that's what we call the tectonic plates. They form like a puzzle and they touch each other. So when you look at planet Earth, you have many of them. So they touch each other in what we call the edges. And these edges they are rough, so technically the plates push each other, they touch each other, and everything is fine, right? But now what happens is, these plates are moving all the time. If the force applied by the plate is below the friction related to those rough edges, nothing happens. But if the force applied by that plate is higher than the friction, well, that wins, and then that plate will move. And when it moves, what happens is an earthquake, but it's not felt here actually, it's felt below the surface. That's what we call the earthquake depth. So they say, oh, it's like 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers below. Like when you hear like an earthquake depth of, let's say, 100 kilometers, that's like 100 kilometers below the surface of Earth. And that creates shock waves. Those waves, of course, they will hit very hard at that point where the tectonic plates are touching each other, but the waves, they travel actually below the Earth's surface, and they could hit like 100 kilometers away from the place where that earthquake happened at. What I'm saying here is that the surface of Earth is made of tectonic plates, and that the movement and the interaction of those plates, that's what creates the earthquake. Now the question is Romania at that intersection of two tectonic plates? Let's get the answer. Here are the tectonic plates that form the entire globe. You could see the Pacific plates, the North American plate, the Eurasian plate, include Europe and a bit of Asia, the African one, and of course the Australian plate right here. As I just explained, the interaction and the intersection of these plates is where earthquakes happen. So there is a country very famous by earthquakes, and there is the country of Japan. I just said that the interaction of these tectonic plates cause the earthquake. Is this true? Let's look at Japan, since Japan is very known by the earthquakes. So this is the country of Japan here. This is Russia, this is South Korea, North Korea, and this is Japan. Not only Japan is close to tectonic plates, but actually 1, 2, 3, 4 tectonic plates. And the country of Japan is almost like split by a tectonic plate here. So you could understand why Japan, that is located at the intersection of 4 tectonic plates, experience a lot of seismic activity. Now let's go back to our beautiful country, Romania. Here is the African plate and the European one. And you see the country of Turkey is here. You remember that picture I showed you here of the country being very red, which means a lot of seismic activity. Well, here is Turkey. It's close to the intersection. It's actually right at the intersection of 2 tectonic plates with Greece, and Romania is here. As you could see, the color of Romania is not like very dark red, almost black. It's yellowish, the orange, dark orange, because Romania is quite far actually from where this intersection of the tectonic plates happen. So Romania is definitely impacted by it. I still don't have the answer why here exactly at this place is more yellow or green, and Romania, which is a bit far from the intersection, has this orange, meaning high seismic activity. I do not have the answer to that, but it confirms the theory of earthquakes being caused by the tectonic plates. I have another map here that zooms at the case of Romania, Bulgaria and Turkey. So if you look at here, like I said, Turkey is very, very red, which means high seismic activity. Bulgaria, a little bit, you see some dots here scattered across Bulgaria, and then you have the big dot here in the Vrancea. I didn't write it here, but it's called the Vrancea zone, right here. If earthquake happened here, it's actually felt up to Chisinau, Moldova, you see, the border of Chisinau, and up to Bucharest. Bucharest is officially in the orange zone. Not the worst one, but it is definitely in it. Ukraine, Slovakia, Hungary are not really concerned, but it is really mainly here around Chisinau and Romania. And this map is interesting because it shows the mountains, and we come to the topic of the mountains. Are they the source of earthquake? Maybe. So let's see. These are the mountains of Romania. You have the Carpathian, they have only the Carpathian called, you have the East Carpathian and the South Carpathian. So you see, they form an intersection like these, right? And then at this corner here, this is where, with this cross, where the seismic activity happens. And if it happens, it is felt up to Bucharest. Now, are the mountains the cause and the source of earthquake? Do they have any relation with earthquake? The answer is yes and no. And they have another map to show you that. I have more maps actually. It's not a map, this one, it's a drawing. So this actually shows how a mountain is formed. You see, these are two tectonic plates, this one here and this one. And when they hit each other, as I say, there are those rough edges. But if one slides below the other one, it's like a crash. It's like when there is a car crash. What happens to the front of the car? It's kind of forms like little mountains on the car. That's what happens here. These are the formation due to the kind, because imagine these two tectonic plates, they're touching each other and there is an energy stored because of that kind of plate pushing the other one. The release of that energy causes the other plate to form something like this, which is the mountain. Now all the mountains are not all formed like this. Take the example of Hawaii, for example. These islands were not formed by two tectonic plates. Why? Well, here is the answer. Why the mountains of Hawaii were not formed by the intersection of two tectonic plates? Well, the United States is here, right? Hawaii should be here, and I think this thing that you see here is the island of Hawaii. It is exactly in the middle, like almost the center of the Pacific plate. So there is no chance that another tectonic plate will hit this one to form the Hawaii mountains. But how did these mountains got formed on the island of Hawaii? That's because here there has been some rocks who got really hot below the surface of Earth and they melted. And what happens is somehow that kind of the pressure that was applied on those melted rocks, because kind of they were getting hot and hot and hot, it pushed them to go up and kind of create a hole on the Earth crust. And that, once they created the hole in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, that lava got out, and then it continued to go out. So those rocks were going out as a lava. They got cooled down by the water seas, and they created the islands of like Hawaii and Kauai. The funny part is, as we say, the tectonic plates, they are moving, right? Here, this area, it's moving, right? Well, the hole is created, but the tectonic plate is moving. So the more the tectonic plate moves, that lava that was going out will create another hole, and then it will create another island. But that process of kind of continuous island creations on the Pacific Ocean, you won't see it in the next 10 or 100 years. In fact, I think the next island in that area of Hawaii will be created in the next 200,000 years, so you won't see it anytime soon. But yes, most of the mountains were created by the intersection of two tectonic plates pushing each other, one going below the other one, causing that stored energy that was stored because of each plate pushing the other one. That energy was released and created this deformation of the other tectonic plates, creating beautiful mountains like you see in a lot of places. But this is not the cause of earthquake. As I said, the cause of earthquake in Romania is because Romania is close to the intersection of two tectonic plates, simply Eurasian plate that you see here, and what they call the African plate, and also the Arabian plate that is here, that includes Saudi Arabia, Emirates, etc. So Romania is kind of not far from this zone, and it took its share part of the earthquake and seismic activity. Now, it's not that I don't like you, but I need to study the tectonic plates that make this lemon tart. This is an earthquake for my hunger. What a beauty. Now I'm going to the old town, so you can't talk about earthquake in Bucharest without talking about the old town of Bucharest, because that's first of all where there is a lot of old buildings from the 1800s, but also it's actually in a seismic zone, so two parameters that don't help the story. So we are entering the old town near the university actually. Alright, we arrived. We are in the old town. This is the National Bank of Romania. And yeah, the main street to the old town is that one actually. See, there is some majestic buildings here. This one is the Hilton. And a few meters away there are buildings that are threatened by earthquake. Let's go check them out.
Because we are friends.
Okay.
And the people, the colleagues to working, we are friends. We go in the weekend together.
During
now,
communism.
In the communism.
Ai văzut
And now?
paparații unde era? Uite! Auzi bine? Ai
We
văzut
have
paparații unde e?
1st May, you know?
1st May, yes.
Working
Yeah,
day
yeah.
was a very nice day in the communism.
Da.
To go to drink beer, eat,
Da, da,
lunch.
nu mai...
Hold on, why are you running away?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
It was very nice. And for me it was very nice.
You worked during the communism era?
Yes, I was a young officer in the Secret Service.
Okay, I have to go. Okay, what's good? Talking to you. I just spoke to an officer from the communist era. His two friends, when they heard they have a camera, they run away. Alright, here is why I brought you here. It's called Techno Import. So I asked them, what was it? Was it a hotel? And the old gentleman was laughing at me. He said, during the communist era, there was no private hotel. This was not built during the communist era. It was built in 1935, if I'm not mistaken. So which means before the Second World War. And you remember the famous, like, how do you recognize if your building is in a seismic high-risk area? I'll tell you a little joke about it. You look at this red sign here, class 1 seismic risk. You see it? Maybe you don't see it. I need to step back. Here it is. Now you see it. So if you see this one on your building, you better don't rent, because the joke is the government put the signs and that's it. It solves the problem. In case of an earthquake, that signs hold the building by some magic. But this one has people living in it. Actually, when you see here, it's not an empty building because it was meant for lodging people actually. So I digged into the government websites to find more details about this one. So it was built in 1934 and it has 25 apartments. So you could expect at least 25 families living here. And it's a massive one. In fact, it's probably the tallest in here. And you see just in front of it, there is a marvel of architecture. So I told you, this is the temple of contrast. And the first floor of this high seismic risk, there is a Golden Girls thing, which I guess is probably a strip club. So in case you're looking for a strip club, you should know that you will ride at your own risk. That's what I'm gonna say. But I have very good news, because this building here has survived the 1977 earthquake. So the Communist Party at the time did the necessary and made sure that this one is standing strong. Just look at the facade, a little detail. Do you see all those cracks? They're almost at every floor. Here is one, you see it? Just continue on this column, you see this column here to the top. There are cracks all over the facade. So the good news is, I mean it's bad news, is that at the time the communist regime decided to stop any investigation or any form of repair in terms of, you know, like identifying the buildings that were touched by the earthquake of 1977. Ceausescu decided to stop all of that. He considered it wasn't necessary for other reasons, which I'll explain later in the video, but you can be sure that this building received little to no maintenance. In fact, they used epoxy resin to close those, fill those cracks that you see on the facade. So yeah, it's not looking good, and it is a zone 1 class 1 risk, actually, seismic risk. And then there is Strada Academia, like the Academy Street. It's on the same, yeah, it's this street, number 1, sector 3. Here it is. I could see the red circle marking of the high seismic risk. Here it is, you see it? So this is the building. This is also classified as one of the 500 that are in the high risk zone, the class 1. This is the highest one. So this is one of the 400. This one actually it's not inhabited at all. There is nobody living here, unlike its neighbor there. I could probably say that this is the most dangerous street in Bucharest in terms of high risk seismic building. Yeah, easily. And the crazy part, here it is, this one, yeah, high risk seismic building. This one I don't know because there is no marking on it. And look at the other one, almost perfectly renovated, the beautiful facade. And we are not in an isolated area. This is like this is the university district area, so it's packed by young people, teachers, a lot of shops. So it's crazy. It's crazy to know that this is literally, I could literally say, I said Bucharest is the most dangerous capital of the EU in terms of seismic activity. Well, I can say that this street here, this one, it's the most dangerous street of all of the European Union in terms of seismic activity because of that techno import building we just saw. The other one, Strada Academia number 1, sector 3, and there is actually another one in the other street. Very busy street actually. It's interesting. Yeah, I see the university. It's the building you see right there, Universitate. See a lot of cafes here. This is like truly the heart of the capital, and what they call kilometer zero. It's like, you know, the center of the city is right there actually. They call kilometer zero of Bucharest. I think it's the hotel. There is Hotel Continental. So let's go to the next building. Actually, it's right here. Now the two buildings I just showed you, the first one has kind of 25 apartments, not many people. The second one is empty, so yeah, worst case nobody is living there in case of an earthquake. What about the next one? You see how many people are living there. And story aside, here we have the military club. This is from the early 1900s. The Nazi actually used to camp here. It was their headquarters when they were in Romania. And this is the beginning of Calea Victoriei, so the Victory Street. I made a full vlog about this street, which you could find right here. And here we enter the old town, which is not my favorite part of Bucharest actually. You will rarely find me here. It's truly the temple of contrast, this old town of Bucharest. Like, look at that one. You might think you are in La Belle Epoque area, you know, like between late 1800 till the First World War. Then look at this. What style of architecture is this one? I don't know. Then this is, yeah, certainly more communist thing. This is another style, building with some bricks. Like, yeah. I have to take the defense of the city of Bucharest. Maintaining such an architecture that has different history and tumultuous past is not as easy as maintaining, I don't know, the architecture of Paris or London or something, you know, that had less, I would say, changes of regimes and things like that. So let's see. A building with a lot of people. Ah, here we go. We don't need to look for a long time. Here is our red sign. The red circle telling us, is it zone 2? No, it is the highest seismic risk, class 1. One of the 400 high risk buildings in Bucharest. Let me step back so you could see how densely populated this area is. The military club I told you is right there, and here is your building. You could even see the red dot there. Thanks for asking. There are more than 80 apartments that are inhabited here, so at least 80 families, probably more. See how densely this area is. That looks more like an abandoned building. You see all the windows, or most of them, are broken there. And is this inhabited? Because the thing of Bucharest, see, the same building, how to say, it's not always like the building inhabited or abandoned. Sometimes the building is kind of half inhabited, half abandoned. So you gotta look at closely the windows, see if there is any sign of life. This one looks like it's kind of, most of it, abandoned. But here it is. We found our building. Let's look at this side, how it is, its shape. Let's see if there is any sign of cracks. Because I wanted to know when was this building constructed, so I went to the archives of the Romanian government, and it's somehow between 1935 and 1947, so before and after the Second World War. Not sure why they haven't kind of put an exact date, but you could tell that this building has survived the massive earthquake of 1977. So now the question is, can we see any cracks on the facade? Because hey, after all, the communist regime of 1977, they saw this and they fixed it. That's why 4 months after the earthquake, the communist regime decided to stop any repair or investigation, and they even filled they filled the cracks with some epoxy resin. Look at other cracks there in the facade, you see? Look at other cracks there. Like, yeah, you don't need to be any expert to know that this building is not doing well. So yes, this one, the high risk building here, class 1 seismic zone, which is the highest one, has passed it successfully, the 1977 earthquake, but it doesn't mean that it's safe. Because the question that now you might be wondering is, what did the communist regime exactly do during the earthquake? What was the reaction and the corrective actions that they took? Because maybe there is something we could learn from the communist regime of 1977 that we could apply today to save the buildings in case of another earthquake happens. Because as I said, if there is one thing you couldn't control, and I touched the wood, is earthquakes. That is how earth is made. That is how the ground is made. It's plates, tectonic plates, that are moving, hitting each other, and sometimes when one plate push stronger than the other one, an earthquake happens. So it's something you can't really control. But the thing is, what are the corrective measures that the communist regime took at the time, and what is the position of the current Romanian government in terms of, you know, earthquake prevention and things like that. So speaking of the Romanian government, I am in front of the general direction of the police municipal Bucharest. I love the long names.
No, I'm not running back to you now. Said I was all in, then you let me down. But now the world is rising, and all I think about.
So as I said earlier, class 1 means that it's part of the highest risks of the seismic risk, sorry. And there are almost 400 buildings like this one in this category. And when you look at the 3 first classes that are kind of the riskiest, there is more than 1500 buildings. These are only the ones that are known, so there may be actually more than that. So yeah, not sure what you think about it, to be honest. Is it safe to stay in Bucharest? I don't know. When I look at these buildings, it seems that the answer is yes. But then when I turn here, the answer is how about we try another city? No. This is some communist shit. There is no doubt about it. Just look at the sculptures. The 2 men there, like, I don't know, maybe mining or something like that. The girl in front of the oven. The lady there holding some grapes. And I don't know, other men there doing some other stuff. The big columns, you know, the minimalistic facade. The dolls shop there. This is communist. It's written Mosinshi, the architects. So, question to you: do you want me after this video to go hunt for the communist buildings and do some, I don't know, some documentary about it? Like, what do you want me to talk about when it comes to communist buildings? Like, what's the interesting story to tell about the communist buildings, except the fact that they are communist? Can you believe it or not? I see another building in front of me, and I already see the red sign. You know, the seismic risk sign. Now the question is, do you think that that building is in the highest risk zone, which is class 1, or class 2 or 3? Because I see a lot of people living there. AC, there is the satellite, and a lot of shops actually. One of them is written Super Gold. Here is your communist, how to say, sunset. It's alright. Just, you know, just avoid renting in those buildings with the red marks. Otherwise everything is fine.
We've gone in to give it up now. You don't know how much I wish I was over it, but all I feel is ghosts of love in your fingertips.
Dun, dun, dun. Suspense. Is it class 1 or class 2? It is class 1, so the highest seismic risk. And it is just, there is the Union of Jurists of Romania. I'm not sure why the lady is blind. But anyway, let's not deviate from our topic. Here is a building threatened by the earthquake with a lot of people living in it. Let's go to the other one, which is, I've been told it's really an old, it's a street with some of the oldest buildings, somehow even from the 1800s, and it's by this direction. Sorry. Oh yeah. Being an electric engineer, I am sensitive to cables. Whenever I see cable as an electric engineer, the first question is, why the cable is out like this? Seriously, God, look at this. No, this can't be serious. What is this? Like, this is like power cable, phones, internet. Well, I see DG, this is like internet provider. I think I lost I lost any I try to understand, but what do you want to understand in this? Like, why they made the cables in this way? And the crazy part is, even like, you know, when there is some not tornado, but you know, like some storm or things like that, the cables survive, no problem. Romania, this is really not serious. Before we continue further, another building in the same category. Yes, class 1. Here it is. The highest seismic risk. So this is one of the 400 buildings in this category that is at least known here in Bucharest. And as I have been told, this is one of the oldest districts, so we'll see some really old buildings. And at the same time, this is the amazing part. Look, I am gonna step to fairy tale Romania, which is here. Look at this beautiful building. It's a house, call it a palace, however you want to call it. It's perfection on earth. Perfectly maintained. 2 turrets. Like you could record a movie here. And right in front of it, there is a building threatened by earthquake. So when you ask me, what do you like in Romania? I say the contrast. The contrast is massive in this country. And especially in Bucharest, actually. Now, if you have been to Kiev, Ukraine, Lviv, Ukraine, Varna, Bulgaria, or even to Russia, these buildings may look familiar to you. You know, they may date from, this is mainly the Russian Empire era, you know, and they have like, you know, 1-2 floors. I'm not saying that this is a Russian or Ukrainian style. This is 100% Romanian architecture. But yeah, I could, me being an outsider and a foreigner, I could see some kind of, you know, similarities. Even though it's not the same thing. And here it is, a beautiful cafe called Origins, specialty coffee. They are good. They are good when it comes to, you know, like cafes and having some cozy environment to get your work done. Yeah, like Budapest, Hungary was also really good. But yeah, in Bucharest you also have a lot of choice. Look at this house with a lot of vegetation around. I know I'm deviating a bit from the topic of earthquake, but it's also something to appreciate in Bucharest. And in front of it, I guess those, if I'm not mistaken, are communist or built during the communist era. Same for this. And let's see if we could go from there. See a lot of security. Am I getting close to something sensitive? And you see, that's the thing, in the same district, buildings that are threatened by collapse in case of an earthquake, and others that are kind of, I don't know, like luxurious palaces. Look at this one here. Isn't it like some hacienda in Spain or North Africa? And here is another one that is less lucky, wasn't really renovated. Some street arts. Would love to learn the history of this building, to understand the era of the time and the difference of architecture. So if you know anyone who is expert in the architecture of Romania and especially Bucharest, and who knows, you know, like the why and the how of these facades, please you can either drop a comment or contact me on Instagram. You have my Instagram, actually you find it on my YouTube channel. So yeah, I would love to get in contact with him or her and learn a bit more about the beautiful architecture, the beautiful and chaotic and quite contrasted architecture of Bucharest. Here is another piece of art, vintage coffee and shop. That's what's written here. So this is like a coffee and vintage shop, which, you know, it's like, how to say, you put too much teasers in the same sentence. So I have to go check it out. They have vintage and coffee. How do you want me to resist to this one? Look at the beautiful facade. Alright, you won, I'm getting in. Let's continue from the street of Christopher Colomb, that's how they call it in Romania, and check out the beautiful facade of this house. I'm not sure under which architectural style this house will fall, but it's beautiful. And here is another one with a less well-maintained facade, but maybe from the inside it's well-maintained, I don't know. So there is no sign of seismic risk here. A lot of these houses are 1-2 floor max. Yeah, I could see from the inside it's well-maintained. Look at this beauty here. I swear, fairy tale houses. The details of the facades, and you see this style of architecture, let's call it the Brankovinik, named after the Wallachian prince Constantin Brankovanu, if I'm pronouncing it well, who actually was executed in Istanbul, under the Ottomans, because they wanted him to convert to Islam, but he didn't want to, so they killed him or something like that, and his entire family was killed, I think, and in the presence of France and Russia, who were by the side of the Ottomans. So he was really isolated, but he created this beautiful architectural style. They call it the Brankovinik architecture. So if I'm not pronouncing it well, I'll write it for you in the video. And it's, I don't know, when I look at it, it reminds me a bit of Western Europe, like Hungary, a bit of like, the architecture in Turkey, the Ottoman Empire. And yeah, there is no sign of seismic risk here, I guess. Maybe because the houses are, not tall buildings, which I guess also help. I'm not a civil engineer expert. Wow, look at the vibe here. Welcome to Kiev, Ukraine. But I'm still in Bucharest, Romania. This reminds me perfectly of Kiev. Look at the beauty. I guess this is a restaurant. Italian restaurant, actually. And here is something a little bit older. See, this house here is a bit old. Let's see, maybe we could find some building that is in the seismic risk. Hopefully class 1. But look at the pebblestone here. Pebblestone. Did they just say pebblestone? The cobblestone. We are not in the beach. Winter is here. It was raining like big day here in Romania. In Bucharest. Wow, this looks like a church, but more maybe Catholic or Protestant church. Wow, it's a red brick church actually. Let's get closer to it. Sorry. Yeah, this doesn't look like Orthodox. I would say Protestant maybe, like in the German style. Oh, look at these buildings here. Yeah, this seems old. Actually, I feel that we came back. We came back to the streets where I started my tour. I think yes, and this is the building we already identified with the red marking, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe not, it's getting dark. No, it's a different street. I take back what I said, but this building here, to me, has all the criteria to be a candidate for a seismic risk building. I'm just looking for the red marking. So this one has nothing. So according to the Romanian government, this is a safe building. There is no seismic risk here. I don't see cracking on the facade. Somehow, something in me tells me that this building has some seismic risk category. Think whether it's class 1 or class 2. It just looks not that well maintained and quite tall. So let me check in the register of the Romanian government that lists all the buildings and categorize them in terms of seismic risk. So let's see if this one is part of them. So I'm reading Strada Alexandru di Xenopol. Strada Alexandru di Xenopol, historic, sector 1. So this is in a class 1 or 2 according to the Romanian government. Let's see. So here I am reading the register from the Romanian government that lists the classification of the buildings that are exposed to the seismic risk. So this is Alexandru di Xenopol, this one here. The Romanian government said it was built in the year 1940. It has 8 floors let's see, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Yeah, that's the highest floor, and it has 37 apartments. It was built in 1940, exactly during the Second World War, and it is clearly in the highest seismic risk. However, I do not see any red marking, which I guess I need to find, because it's either getting dark and I need to buy some glasses, or they somehow didn't put it here. So where are you? The red marking normally it should be clearly visible from the facade, not in an alley like this. So in this case, whoever wanna rent or buy is already aware of what he's doing. No, there isn't. So this is not okay. Normally they should have a clear marking saying that this building is in a high seismic risk. Because if I come here, I want to rent an apartment, everything is fine. The district is amazing. Look at this beautiful church here, which I don't think is Orthodox. Like, beautiful restaurant here, like everything is perfect. I would rent here eyes closed, but nothing, absolutely nothing would tell me that this building here is one of the most exposed, not only in Bucharest or Romania, but in the entire European Union, to earthquake risks. Nothing tells me that, unless I'm geeky enough to go search in the Romanian archives like I did to get the information. So nothing on the facade. I'll contact the city of Bucharest. I'll write them an email, see if they answer me. If yes, by the time I'm editing the video, hopefully they would answer, and I'll let you know what they say about the fact that there is no seismic marking here, even though this building is registered by them as being in an exposed area. So yeah, let's see. Beautiful park here, kids are playing around. It's called Ane Park, if I'm reading it correctly. Oh, this is interesting. They have like a dedicated corner for the dogs, where they could do all their stuff. See, there is a fence around it. 1 week later, I'm in front of Basilica Alba. It's called in English the White Church. This is from the 1800 something, early 1800 actually, and like the contrast of Bucharest is always amazing. Like, you know, they maintain this very well. A quite recent building, probably from the 70s, a more modern one here, since this is one of the oldest parts of Bucharest. Look what I just found. It is written class 1 seismic risk, the same red marking we found earlier. And the most amazing part is, like, they could have put 10 of these markings here. The Romanian citizens don't care. Like, I really want to try to understand the Romanian mind. Like, nobody cares. Business is as usual. Here is a beautiful pub here, like, you know, in the Irish way, and people are still living here. Look at the windows open. Looks like there is a lot of life going on here. Yeah, and this is threatened by a seismic risk, and it knew already the earthquake of 1977. I'm trying to see some kind of cracks on the facades, which actually I see some of them that were actually repaired. Let me try to zoom in. If you could see them, see the repairs. But yeah, not sure what those reparations are worth. But yeah, it's safe. All is good. Just relax. Have a tea or cafe in Calia Victoria. This is Calia Victoria. I made a full vlog about it, which you could find on the right top corner of the screen. And I never get enough of this avenue. This is like your Champs-Élysées of Romania, actually, or at least I like to call it like that. Now you may be wondering, what was the reaction of the communist regime to a natural catastrophe like this in March 4th, 1977? Well, when this happened, of course, they elected a committee with a lot of engineers who investigated things like that. But then 4 months after that, the communist regime decided to stop any, whether it's corrective or investigative action regarding the earthquake that happened. And by December 1977, which is only like 9 months after the earthquake, Nicolae Ceausescu was the president of the communist regime and the president of Romania at the time. He considered that the earthquake that happened just 9 months ago was part of the old history, like period, end of it. Why? Because he was preparing for his massive project, the Romanian Parliament Palace, considered today the second largest building in the entire world and considered the most expensive building that humans have ever built in the modern time. The question is, did Romania at the time need money to go toward that Romanian palace, or more toward preserving things like these that are in a high seismic zone like this? I am in the old town. Actually, the old town is there. This is the beginning of Calea Victoriei, which is the street of the Avenue of Victory, one of the main avenues of Bucharest, Romania. I made a full vlog about it, which you could find actually here. But all of that is the past, and okay, we get it. We can't learn a lot from what the communists did at the time to manage this catastrophe, because they didn't do that much, to be honest. The question is today, what is the current present Romanian government doing to avoid a catastrophe like this? Or let me correct myself, since you can't avoid an earthquake, how to cope with it to limit as low as possible the damages that may be caused with a next earthquake that today threatens the lives of more than 8,000 people living in Bucharest, Romania. How bad it would be the situation if tomorrow there is another earthquake here in Bucharest, Romania, and I touch the wood? Well, let me first run some figures for you. There is around 400 buildings in what they call the class 1 seismic zone. This is the worst category. Then there is another 400 buildings in the class 2 seismic zone. We are almost at 1,000 buildings. Then there is the class 3 and then the class 4, and then there are 2 other categories called like the emergency categories. So long story short, we are talking about between 1,500 and 2,000 buildings in Bucharest, Romania that are considered in the high seismic zone. But the thing is, Romania and Bucharest are not kinda in the epicenter of some seismic activity. In fact, Italy and Albania and Croatia and Slovenia are kinda more exposed than Romania. But why is Bucharest the most exposed capital, considered like the most exposed capital to seismic risk in the entire European Union? There is not only geology, but that's also the way the governments of this country, I said governments with S because it started with the communists in 1977 when there was that earthquake, and also the current government, the way they managed this earthquake risk, it's not, I would say, ideal, nor a model you want to follow. And especially the communist part, where they simply, like 4 months after, they disregarded any corrective action to fix those buildings. So today Bucharest finds a lot of its population, like according to what I found, like 15,000 people living kind of directly or indirectly in a building that is in a high seismic zone. So putting the blame on the geology of Romania to explain why Bucharest is considered, you know, the most exposed city to seismic risk, that's not really fair. There is a lot that is also related to the way those buildings were managed in this beautiful town. So you see, since I am in the university area with a lot of young people, let's go ask some young Romanian what do they think or know about the seismic activity of Bucharest, Romania. That should be an interesting question. This is the metro of Bucharest. Yes, it was built during the communists. Alright, let's find some young people to ask them questions. Hi, excuse me. Can I ask you please a question?
Yeah.
Do you know anything about the seismic activity of Bucharest?
Not really, but some earthquakes happened a few years ago, but since then nothing.
Since then nothing?
Yeah.
So you think it's
been really chill?
So you think it's safe in Bucharest now?
Yeah. I think it depends. Maybe something can happen, you know, in like the near future, a big earthquake or something, but we can't know.
Do you feel safe in your building? Like, does it feel new, safe?
Yeah, but the buildings around here are not. They are very old and can just
fall apart?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Speaking of government maintaining well the infrastructure, here is another contrast. A beautiful Audi, I don't know, 100k car, whatever, and here is your beautiful hole. But that's fine. You just gotta know it exists, and then you avoid it, you know? Nothing dramatic, just chill. Well, this attitude doesn't work with buildings that are in high risk, high seismic risk. It may work with the roads, but not the buildings. This is one of the coolest spots of Bucharest. It's like the main, it's like the headquarters of the youngsters, you know, from the university. There's a lot of universities and high schools around. Just look at the buildings, how majestic they are. There's a Starbucks actually here, with a lot of young people. They love Starbucks here in Romania. You remember this guy? His name is George Ursu. So he was an engineer, and he was part of the committee who was kind of, you know, charged by, you know, they give them the responsibility to investigate what happened to the buildings after the earthquake of 1977, March 1977. The thing is that 4 months after that good energy started, Ceausescu said, no, I'm closing every investigation or repair action, because Nicola Ceausescu, who was the president of Romania at the time, you know, the president of the Romanian communist regime, he decided to keep the resources for his big crazy project, the Romanian Palace of Parliament, which is today the second largest building in the entire planet, the most expensive and the heaviest building in the entire world, as if the Romanian population at the time needed something like that. But Ceausescu needed the resources for his crazy project, so he said, no, we're not spending any more money or time to kind of save or repair or, you know, like kind of categorize the buildings that were impacted by the earthquake. George Ursu, the Romanian engineer, denounced that. He was infuriated by this decision of Nicola Ceausescu. Not only that, he publicly criticized him in a radio called Radio Free Europe, which was located in west of Germany, and which was bringing uncensored news to the Romanian people at the time. So this happened in, you know, the late 70s. By 1985, 8 years after, George Ursu was found dead in the prison. So they caught him, and officially he is charged because of the fact that he had foreign currency, which at the time was illegal in Romania. So because of that, they put him in jail, but then they tortured him for other reasons. The thing is that the two people who were, this is like still a recent history, because the two people who were charged of torturing him in the prison, who were not part of La Securitate, who were part, I think, just from normal Romanian police, these guys, they have just been acquitted recently. So the Romanian court said it's fine, you know, no more discussion about this topic, it's closed. And his descendants, they are not happy about this decision, so it is still ongoing topic. And because his descendant, the family of George Ursu, they wanted the court to charge these two guys who tortured George Ursu by crimes against humanity. If this happens, these two policemen from the communist regime, the Romanian communist regime, they will be the first one to be charged with, like, you know, crime against humanity from the Romanian communist regime, and I think from any communist regime that existed in Europe. So that's the sad story of this courageous Romanian engineer who had the guts to not only denounce the madness of Nicola Ceausescu, but even did it publicly on a radio located in west of Germany, you know, like the symbol of capitalism and, you know, Anglo-Saxon demon and all the stuff that the communist regime of Romania didn't like at all. I like this sector. This is sector number 2 of Bucharest. I mean, sector 2 is massive. It's kind of, it goes from the city center of Bucharest to the northeast, so it's really big. And this part, of course, it's the closest one to the old town. And you know what statue is this one here? This is the statue of Cantacuzino, who was like a finance and minister at the time, one of the founders of the Liberal Party, of here in Romania. And yeah, he's quite respected and beloved here in Romania. We're talking about the late 1800s. The interesting part is this park. Originally, it was a swamp, like a dirty one. Now it's one of the most beautiful places in Bucharest, and it's actually in the list of the historic monuments of the sector number 2. which feels to me quite historic, just judging from the facades I see here in front of me. Like, you'll find little to almost no new buildings. By new buildings I mean things built after the collapse of the communist era. Maybe that one there at the corner, but yeah. And of course always the Romanian artistic touch. No, I'm not talking about the sculpture, no, I'm talking about the cables. Seriously. Even on historic monuments, the Romanian cables are there, you know, telling you, hi, what's up? Do you need some fast download speed, upload speed? I guess, hey, I understand why Romania has the fastest internet speed. Cables are all over the place. Of course you'll have it. In good internet with these cables. Look at them. Like, yeah, I mean, I'll take off my hat to the Romanian technicians working for internet companies or any cable company in Romania, because to find themselves in this madness of cables, that's art. And of course, yes, the sculpture is beautiful. Yes, of course, we just spoke about it. Romania, you leave me speechless all the time. And when I think that I have seen everything, Romania tells me, don't leave the country, we still have a lot to show you. On this beautiful note, I thank you very much for watching the video. Please take care of the like button, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done it yet. And you can also share it with your friends and family if you think that the content may be useful or inspiring to them. This has been said, my friends. Thank you very much for watching this video. See you in the next one. Ciao.